I woke into darkness so complete it felt stitched around my eyes. Something tugged at my wrists when I tried to sit up. Something colder pulled at my ankles. I lay still for a moment, breathing through the panic clawing at my throat, waiting for memory to surface like a body rising through murky water. Nothing came. Just a ceiling, a faint hum above it, a metallic taste in my mouth, and the realization that both my arms and legs were tied down. The restraints weren't leather. They were nylon, medical grade, the kind meant to hold someone thrashing through seizures. Each band dug into my skin with the practiced confidence of someone who had done this many times before. The air smelled faintly of bleach, but something sour hid beneath it. A stale animal smell. I tried to speak. My voice rasped like old paper. "Hello?" Only the hum answered. Then, far down the hall, metal clattered, not dropped, but set down too quickly, followed by a slow, dragging scrape that made my teeth clench. I forced myself to breathe. In, out, in, out. I had no idea where I was. No idea how I'd gotten here. No idea who I even was. I tried again, louder. "Anybody!" A sharp click cut me off. The overhead light flickered to life in a single angry blink, illuminating the room with a thin, yellowish glow. I wished it hadn't. Sterile was the wrong word for this place. It looked like someone had tried to make it sterile and given up halfway. Cracked tile, a sink missing its faucet head, a curtain railing with no curtain, and dried brownish streaks on the floor I didn't want to think about. The restraints held fast when I tried to twist. My right wrist burned. The left felt looser. I angled it, tested the give. It wasn't secure. Whoever tied me had rushed it. Another sound drifted from the hall. Voices low, muffled. Not panic, not urgency. Something worse. Casual discussion. I strained to listen. "Done with the donor?" "Not yet. Need the chart." "Check room 6. Room 6. Was I in room 6? My heart thudded so hard the mattress vibrated. I turned my head slowly, as if afraid of disturbing something lurking beside me. On the wall near the door, a faded crooked sign read, "Room 6. Holding. Holding what?" My pulse spiked. I yanked at the strap on my left wrist. Hard. Again. The buckle slipped half an inch. My skin tore. Warm blood slicked the nylon. I pulled until something snapped. Cloth, skin, or nerve. I couldn't tell. My left hand came free. The footsteps outside paused. I lay perfectly still, chest hardly rising. Someone exhaled just beyond the door. Too deep, too calm, too close. Then the footsteps walked away. I didn't breathe until the sound faded. My freed hand shook uncontrollably as I reached for the restraint on my right wrist. It hurt worse than the first, and my nails scraped metal. I swallowed the urge to scream. The hall lights flickered. Once, twice. The hum grew louder. My breath turned shallow. The buckle finally gave. Both arms free, I sat up on the cold bed. My legs remained bound, but the knots were amateur. Someone had rushed again, someone confident I would not wake up. The thought chilled me deeper than the room. I bent forward, fumbling with the knots. The left ankle came loose first. The right took longer, stiff from swelling. When I finally stood, my legs trembled like they belonged to someone else. I reached the door on unsteady feet. It swung open before I touched it. A woman stood in the doorway. If I had any illusions about this being a real hospital, she ended them. Her uniform was wrong. Not the clean scrubs of a nurse, but an off-brand imitation, pale green and too thin, stained at the collar with something brown. She must have been around 50. Her hair was grey and wild, pulled back into something that barely counted as a ponytail. Her eyes were small, red-rimmed, exhausted in a way that suggested she hadn't slept in a normal bed for a long time. And she smiled at me, not with kindness, with expectation. "You're awake early," she said softly, as if scolding a child. I didn't think instinct moved faster than thought. My fist shot forward, slamming into her face. Something cracked beneath my knuckles. She gasped, staggered, and collapsed sideways against the doorway, knocking a metal tray out of her hands. Instruments clattered across the floor. Bone saw, clamps, a long hooked scalpel. Their shine made bile rise in my throat. Before she could recover, I stepped over her limp form and slipped into the hallway. The corridor stretched into darkness on both ends. Fluorescent lights blinked irregularly, casting jerky shadows across peeling wallpaper and rusted door frames. A dark line trailed along the baseboards, spilled fluid of some kind. The air carried the same bleach and sweat smell from my room. Stronger here, but underneath it lingered something unmistakable. Rot. I moved on the balls of my feet. Every step measured, breath shallow. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I couldn't stay near that room, not near that woman, not near those instruments. I reached the first doorway on my left and peeked inside. Bodies, not dead, sedated. 3 men lay on gurneys pushed against the wall, each with tubes taped to their arms, their faces sunken, lips cracked. One had a chest cavity partially sutured, like someone had begun a procedure and paused halfway. A bucket on the floor contained bloody gauze. I backed away slowly. This wasn't a hospital. This was an operation, literally. I kept moving. The next door revealed a counter stacked with coolers. White, medical grade, like the ones used to transport organs. 5 were open. Ice still swirled inside 2 of them. Something pale and wet lay in each, indistinct in the dim light, and I refused to look closer. My legs almost buckled. No, keep moving. Think later. Further down, I found an office. The computer was on. A clipboard sat beside it with a printed list. I leaned closer, dread anchoring each breath. Donor intake, night shift. Room 2, kidney left room 4, liver partial room 6, heart priority, room 7, lungs, room 11, miscellaneous harvest room 6, heart priority. My stomach tightened so fast I gagged. I wiped my mouth with a shaking hand and forced myself away from the desk. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed down the hall boots. Several, moving quickly. They were coming. I darted into the nearest stairwell door, slipped inside, and pulled it gently shut behind me. The stairwell was pitch black. I stood perfectly still, listening to the footsteps rush past. Muffled voices followed. "He's out. Check the hall. Check holding. How the hell did he wake up? Doesn't matter, sedate and prep. Heart's scheduled. We can't delay." Cold dread settled inside me. Not fear, not panic. Recognition. They were discussing me like a piece of equipment. I backed away slowly, hands sliding along the concrete wall. My fingers brushed something sticky. I didn't check what it was. I took the stairs down half a flight. Another. The air grew colder, and the hum deepened into a mechanical drone. I pushed the heavy door at the base of the stairwell. It groaned open. The basement was worse. Lining the walls were rows of metal lockers, some open, revealing bloody aprons, gloves, saws. A single industrial freezer hummed at the far end. Plastic curtains hung from a frame, leading into a larger room. I pushed past them and stopped breathing. Tables. Not surgical tables. Slaughterhouse tables. Drainage grates in the floor. Hooks overhead. Bloodstains, dried in long arcs. I backed away. My shoulder hit a metal cabinet, knocking a bottle off. It shattered on the floor with a sharp crack. Voices above turned instantly silent. Then, footsteps. Fast, descending. I bolted back toward the stairwell, but the moment I reached it, the door swung open and someone grabbed me by the hair, yanking my head back. I saw a flash of a face. A man. Surgical mask. Eyes flat and professional. His fist connected with my temple. The world flickered. My legs folded, and I fell into a cold, thick dark. When consciousness crept back, it came slowly, like seeping through gauze soaked in ice water. I tasted metal. My eyelids felt glued shut. My limbs felt anchored. I forced my eyes open. I was back in the bed, bound again. Tighter this time, arms pinned, legs spread and strapped. A tube taped to my neck. The light above me shone brighter, harsher. The hum now sounded like a generator struggling under weight. Something warm trickled down the side of my scalp. Blood dried at the edge. They hadn't even cleaned me up. Then the memories hit. Sharp, fragmented a bar, a drink, a woman smiling, her hand touching mine, the way her nails traced the rim of my glass. Me laughing, then the room tilting sideways, her face blurring, her whisper, "It'll be over soon." Then darkness. I tried to move my fingers. Nothing. To flex my feet. Nothing. To lift my head. Nothing. I couldn't feel my body. The tube at my neck. Was it anesthesia? A paralytic? I tried to scream, but the sound got stuck behind my tongue. Someone walked into the room. A man. Another behind him. Both wearing aprons. Both wearing surgical masks. Both calm, unhurried. One checked a monitor. The other adjusted the straps, though they didn't need adjusting. The first man spoke without looking at me. Conscious. Doesn't matter. He won't feel anything. But I did. I felt everything except my own body. A hand lifted my eyelid. A bright light stabbed into my vision. The man nodded approvingly, like checking the ripeness of fruit. Then they rolled a cart beside me. On it lay a bone saw, 2 rib spreaders, clamps, a long narrow scalpel, a metal basin already lined with gauze. I tried to scream again, only a breath escaped. They didn't react. One positioned the tray, the other spoke to him. Heart first, then whatever else is viable. They leaned over me, gloves snapped. The man holding the scalpel paused just long enough to adjust the overhead lamp, angling the light directly onto my chest. I watched the reflection catch the blade. I tried to move. I tried to jerk. I tried to shake my head. I tried to do anything. Nothing answered. The man placed the tip of the scalpel against my skin. Cold metal, firm pressure, a moment of unbearable anticipation. And in that final second, when the world shrank to the thin crescent of silver beginning to slide into my flesh, I remembered my name. It didn't matter. The blade descended, and the last thing I saw was the ceiling light flickering, the hum deepening, and the faint, satisfied nod of the surgeon above me as everything washed out into a blinding, merciful white.